Commissions. He held the charge of Additional Chief Secretary and Home Secretary for the Government of Maharashtra. He has represented India in various international venues, including the 2012 Ministerial Conference of Paris Pact, where he held the Indian delegation in the absence of Union Finance Minister. He has also held the Indian delegation at SAARC summits in Pakistan 1993 and Bangladesh 1992. Mr. Rajan, it's an honor and privilege to be here with you today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let me start by asking you, just a few minutes back I heard your conversation and your keynote speech on institutional building for FinTech India. Could you enlighten our audience with the nuggets of a few things that you spoke during this conference?
You know, the topic I chose for today was institution building for FinTech in India. So first part was on concepts, the problems and prospects India has, the inherent power of FinTech. I use the words which are important, crucial, disruption.
And I did see that most of the audience were captivated by what you just said. And I think acting immediately is more important than just thinking over it. My concept is if you can't ride the wave, at least learn to swim in it.
Buddha had said, why is there so much of merriment when the world is in flames? Here flames means intellectually the thing in the ferment. Old is dead.
Right.
But the problem is new has to take place and birth.
Right, right. It is in fact the world of the millennials right now. So I completely agree to your point. Let me switch to the BFSI sector. In India is valued very high and is likely to become the largest in the world by 2025. How do you see this sector in the Indian economy, and how would you conceptualize the BFSI sector?
In fact, there are two videos going around on YouTube where I have expressed my views on BFSI.
Okay.
My initial contribution to the thought is that it should not be called shadow banking.
Shadow banking.
Shadow banking is a term used by Herman Minsky, a Keynes-influenced economist of repute, who thought that these are activities done in the shadow,
right,
which gave a sort of a stigma to the sector. I hold that in terms of size, performance, variety, and also future,
right,
the sector can be criticized, should be reformed, but should not be condemned.
True.
And the present policy of the Reserve Bank of India and the governor is precisely that, to see whatever can be solved would be solved.
Right.
If something is done with a bad intent, of course the law of capitalism, which
will prevail, yes.
will prevail.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But we'll try to protect. I have always held that there has to be a national policy on NBFC.
NBFCs. Okay.
National policy.
Okay.
Which will not be sectoral, which will not be regulator oriented only, which will be a total. It will take care of the incentives, it will take care of the prospects, it will be a hand holding for some time and then go. Very bright prospects, they have a future.
Okay. So do you see that there's more need for BFSI to be more regulated in today's world?
No, no. Regulation is required. It's a prerequisite.
Prerequisite, yes.
It's prerequisite because it has been left outside for or a daughter.
Right.
That way.
Brilliant,
be discreet.
Sir. Absolutely. And I 100%.
Autonomy of institutions.
Right.
Cannot be ruled out now.
Yes, yes. Okay, on what prospects companies, especially the emerging companies, should focus on in order to harness innovation in the BFSI sector?
That's the crux of the matter. We have two tasks. One is to maintain and maintain better whatever we have got.
Right.
But another is to understand that the new tech is going to come with startups.
Right.
And these startups can be of any size,
Right.
but their creative potential has to be understood. That is why whether it is RBI, whether it is SEBI, whether it is insurance regulator in India, all are insisting on the regulatory sandbox.
Yes.
And because you are a technocrat, you know very well, sandbox is a revolutionary concept, but it
Right.
also is a path which has to be gone together in a harmonious way.
True. True.
The ego and power and the attitude which is clerical will not help.
Very true.
So we are going on a proper, with stand-ups, the entrepreneurial power is building,
Right.
and if we understand, we'll definitely do well. And I'm very positive about it.
True. And when we spoke about this a little bit earlier, that RBI has come out with the sandbox concept. So how efficiently is that project running?
No, the whole thing is well known that in 2016 a committee was appointed, particularly when blockchain technology or FinTech of various types started, including robotic applications.
Right.
And then regulators from all over the country, they sat together, and knowledgeable people, entrepreneurs also. 2 years they gave a report. 2018 that report came.
Okay.
It's a valuable report which tells what shall be regulated with what degree.
Right.
And there's a 93 number page where the matrix is given. It's a beautiful creative work.
Wonderful.
After that, there was a regulatory sandbox framework concept which RBI gave. This was last year, mid last year. That is a valuable document. Now we have to see how it works out.
Yes.
So it's too early to comment.
Yes.
But again, I'm positive on these.
Right.
Not because it's my country or organization which I am affiliated, but because intellectual also is satisfied, and international response also to this has been good.
Right. And this shows that the government is towards
Government is towards, yes.
digital payments. Yes.
I'll give you another example. When President Donald Trump came to India and trade was being discussed all over in the public sphere, there was one expert from US who made a very perceptive comment.
Okay.
He said, we all are bothered about the trade quantum and depth between the two countries,
Right.
and we have our views of different types. But why not look at 4.0 IR prospects?
Right.
It's a huge area, and it's a win-win situation.
And nobody's thinking about that right now.
Prime
So,
Minister has made a reference
Wonderful.
somewhere
Okay.
while he was inaugurating the 4th Industrial Revolution Center in India. In the world, there are 4. One is in Japan, and there is in Germany. India has in Mumbai one, which was inaugurated in 2018. And San Francisco is the headquarter as well as the center.
Okay.
So we are moving ahead. Only thing, as you said, there has to be a sense of urgency.
Right. Results driven more than just conceptualizing, as you say.
Yes.
Got it. All right. How does the India 2020 budget and relocation of capitals are impacting the business in the industrial sectors?
You know, as a student of economics, it gave me happiness. Look, there are two views on the growth of economies. One is influenced by John Maynard Keynes. Another is influenced by von Hayek. Von Hayek was a Nobel laureate, and he was very strong in writing conservative ideas. His idea was that it should be very limited, limited to currency, defense, and a few things, internal security. Keynes had a vision that it should be employment oriented and
Industrial, predominantly.
Industrial.
Yes.
Now there you had the students of Keynes and post-Keynesians and so on and so forth. Today, the solution post-2008 financial crisis world will lie on taking ideas from both. Right. That's why we have scholars like Joseph Stiglitz, more popular, because there's a contemporary combination and fusion of the thought.
Right.
So regulation is needed, but the state also has to behave well.
True, true. Wow. Yes. I have a sub question to that. India is currently at $2.8 trillion economy, and we're trying to reach 5 trillion by 2024, which means there needs to be a nominal growth of 12% year on year. Do you see that being true?
Too much is being read these days on the figures of 5 trillion.
5 trillion, yes.
It is management by objectives approach. I see it.
Yes.
Like in all companies, we set a target.
Yes.
But as I mentioned, if 4.0 industrial evolution techniques, methods, fusion approaches are adopted, what you lose here, you will gain that side.
Yes.
So totally it will be the same. So temperature of a body is not important. Well-being of the economy is more important. And that will come to that will come to discourse.
Yes.
Discourse where there is less ego, less heat, more light.
More light. All right. I also hear that you're going to attend the Chennai conference of CFO Summit. So I believe there are more than 120 CFOs that are going to attend that session. So is there any particular topic that you will be discussing?
Yes. Actually, in 30 minutes, I could speak today whatever I could.
Right.
I'll take the discussion at a higher level, which will be basically, I'll look into the FATF recommendations on FinTech, because they have just been out.
Yes.
And I have mentioned it, but a detailed analysis is required in the context of India. That is one.
Right.
And secondly, Supreme Court judgment also ought to come by then.
Yes.
It's closed for order on blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
Right.
Thirdly, regulatory approaches of sandbox and other policies of the three regulators which we see, they will also show some signals of emergence or conflict. We will see that. So it will be a behavioral analysis of the economics approaches, finance approaches towards technology, and I could be more focused then.
Awesome. Okay. So, being in Indian Administrative Services and worked so closely with the government, you also served as the Home Chief Secretary, right? So, what are the toughest moments for you to handle?
I'll give you a different answer which others will give. Normally they'll talk of their achievements and all. The essential thing in internal security management anywhere at any time is to harmonize between the emergency power of the state, which is needed, and the human rights of the victim on the other side. So, in institutional terms, you have to run the Directorate of Police Administration with insight. A directorate is autonomous.
Yes.
Residual state power is required to supervise them. So, if there is a difficulty, you see it from a distance and work it out. So, working together is one side.
Yes.
Within the
hardest part.
Hardest part.
Yes.
Because they are equally competent and equally good police forces.
Ego clashes could happen. Yes.
Life and death questions they suffer.
Right.
On the other hand, so harmonizing on one side and balancing on the other and still not be crushed by the pressure of work is the challenge.
Okay. Wonderful. Wow. And I applaud you, for being through so many things, and now that you have turned towards education and imparting your nuggets of wisdom to our young generation, So, they don't have to reinvent the wheel and pick up for the wisdoms that you have gained over such an illustrious career and, work towards the growth.
We were brought up by scholarships of the government.
Okay.
And the education also was basically funded by the state people. So the duty now is to give back.
Give back. Wonderful. Okay. My next question is on the technologies that are currently disrupting the industry. Let's take an example of an RPA. So we all now are aware that what potential RPA holds and how it is a game changer in every industry. So how do you see RPA in finance and its future in India in the next 5 years?
The advisory role of RPA softwares, everybody will say unneeded. Question is needed at what price and needed at what stage.
Right.
US is doing well, but in bigger type of trade.
Understood.
At the middle and emerging level, the rate of China and the rate of India is good.
Good.
Only thing we have to be better.
Okay.
Problem is the board level decision making in companies. Researchers from Harvard Business Review have shown that corporates are not, particularly boards, are not taking interest in cybersecurity and robotic software applications.
Right.
They have all praises.
Right.
Where it wants to cut cost cutting.
Yes.
These are the two targets which are being achieved.
Very true.
So an insight has to come.
Yes.
Board has to be sensitized.
True.
This new public management is dead of cost cutting. After 2008, it should be understood.
Yes.
It is digital governance which matters.
Matters, yes.
It's a public management issue. NPM is dead. It's basically all their premises were turned out to be futile. What is required is digital type of thinking, study of analytics of disruptions and probability in that situation.
Right.
There has to be a medium-term approach to growth. That's more important.
Wonderful. And I completely agree. I think a lot of people have this preconceived notion that RPA could take away a lot of jobs. But on the contrary, I think RPA could create a lot of jobs.
No, out of the list of 10 books I have given,
Right.
one book is on that only.
Okay.
There's a scholar who has analyzed and understood what the impact machine learning will have on industrial infrastructural systems. And he has come to the conclusion that man or woman will still be within power.
Right.
These are assistive devices.
Yes.
And if jobs are going to be lesser, obviously they will be. It's a harsh reality. But the new type of advice systems are required which cognitively have higher functions.
Yes.
So the quality of job or employment will be better if robotic systems are used.
Agreed. My next question is on the government. So the government had launched initiatives like Startup India, Digital India Program and Jan Dhan Yojana to broad-based adoption of innovation in technology. However, the last 5 years, more than 50 schemes have been launched by the government to facilitate the growth of startups in India as well. So do you see this transition of government projects plus startup being cohesively together?
Yes, they are seeds, but the seeds have to land up. There's a parable by Jesus, the oldest, smallest parable. Parable says, it's called parable of the sower. It only says one sentence. I threw seeds, some fell on rock, some on sand, or some on fertile land. So these are seeds thrown for human empowerment. Now, how they are taken up becomes important. But overall, I'm very positive about it.
Wonderful. Okay.
It will have ups and downs, but finally, And this jam trinity,
Yes.
excellent idea, excellent idea. There will always be critic. You know, Oscar Wilde said critics are legless creatures who teach running.
Running, yes.
So it's easy to criticize. And Marx also said philosophers have interpreted the world in different ways. Point is to change
Yes.
them. The world has to change, and these are seeds for change.
Right. Wonderful, sir. And the last two questions, since I'm the procurement guy, so I would like to ask you two questions on the procurement. So recently you gave lectures on procurement and supply chain in US and UK. So my first question to you is, how can organization build modern structures with minimum associated risk, culture and leadership that will help these organizations accelerate their supply chain transformation journey?
The lecture which I gave in Queen Elizabeth Hall Second Hall in London was on internal security procurements. These are high tech, definitely, but their impact at the lowest level is not coming up. Army is different, armed forces, there it's reaching. But procurement for internal security, which is very hard, is basically piggybacking.
Right.
So it's a world in itself. The short point is one has to go through the evidence-based approach, like UK did. UK in internal security arms procurement studied all the audit reports.
Right.
Find out the gap.
Yes.
There's an impressive gap analysis at a very sophisticated level.
Okay.
And then improved upon it.
Yes. Improvise.
Second, there's something wrong with a country which still doesn't have a central legislative power. But procurement also has a blockchain technology.
Yes.
Contracts management through blockchain.
Yes.
It's a world in itself.
Yes.
But the state is not satisfactory.
Yeah. Is that fearing one source of truth? Is that's the reason why we're not having a centralized procurement initiatives?
If I say anything, it will be unpleasant.
Okay.
So we should have, I'll insist,
We should have.
there's no need.
Yes.
There was a draft bill. It was perfect, imperfect, whatever. Have something, you can amend the law later.
True.
But not having a law is like IBC,
Yes.
Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. 27 years notification was not done. Why?
Yes.
And when it is done, see the results.
Absolutely. So what would you, some of the strategies that you would recommend for an organization to transform their procurement function into a value-added center or a profit-generating center?
That's the correct approach. You said it, and I don't have to add anything. These are words of wisdom. Precisely, I would have said the same thing. So that's how I see. You know, internally, there has to be a mindset change. Like European Union has done so much on this. I mean, their manuals, if we see, and their best practices company to company you see, or technology to technology you see.
Right.
And not only procurement, but the value chain management, and not only ethics, but efficiency,
Right.
and excellent cost consciousness, see, are worth emulating. But I think people are working on it. It will happen, but malintent has to go.
Very true. And I'm so glad, that our audience get to hear you with so much of knowledge. And what I see throughout the interviews, you're very positive on the outlook of how things have to span out. And it's been an honor and privilege for me to be part of this. Thank you, Dr.
I'm
Raj.
very positive about our children.
Yes.
Children of our
Of the
country.
future, yes.
They are bright, as a generation much superior, but they have to be heard,
Yes.
understood, and they have problems of underemployment, which also needs to be
Addressed.
understood, addressed.
Right.
Otherwise, India, nobody can say. There's no question of India not coming up. It's only question of when it can get rid of
How soon can we
small
get there?
niceties which affect us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you.